glad when we have, volunteer English teachers for the internationals, because they respect their elders. They often come from cultures that respect their elders, and so, and if it's an older person teaching, then there's at least more cultural kind of connection and respect that way.
Remember the next question? Maybe it was about the older lady.
Well, sure, yeah. So again, so right. So there's the four groups. So older men, older women, younger women. So older men as fathers, younger men as brothers. So what's that? How would that relate?
Well, if you want to be a part of the group, you're not going
Yeah. Okay.
smarter than anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, you are,
Mm-hmm.
maybe, because you're
Yeah.
bringing new
Mm-hmm.
information, but
Yeah. Yeah. So again, I mean, so again, you've got special training, but you're not necessarily above them. So treat them like you would your brothers. Build community, and work that way. All right. Older women, respecting them, and we'll get into widows coming up, which kind of a specific group of older women. But again, treat them like mothers, and then the younger women as sisters, especially with purity. Now, why is that important?
well, I never liked Tom Selleck because every show the women supposedly fell all over him, and it just
Right.
really ticked me off. So if the new pastor comes in and
Yeah.
follow,
Yep. Right. I mean, so especially for a young pastor, we're told, and I mean, I was told, almost 20 years ago in seminary that it was, you don't date anyone in the congregation just because of the power dynamics and things, and just because and now, especially after Me Too and other stuff, that's kind of there's more of an emphasis on that recognition that a pastor-congregant relationship is on the same level as a teacher-student or psychologist, or therapist, counselee relationship. Those kind of things where there's an inherent power dynamic, and so avoid that if possible. I mean, it's slightly different here. With very.
You remember the movie Clint Eastwood was wandering, I think the Civil War's over with, and he wanders over this place, and they got like 6 daughters, and they take him in to Beguiled or something like that is the movie. And they start to fall for him. But as each one of them falls for him, and he hurts someone, next thing you know, they're plotting to kill him.
Right, and that's part of the other thing again. So this protects his, Timothy's reputation, and protects the congregational dynamics, because that's going to change in different ways too. Yeah.
It should work out.
Okay, thank you. Yep. All right. So yeah, we went through those groups. Any other thoughts, questions, comments on any of those groups, or how we treat them?
It kind of comes down to listening and appreciating everybody and
Yep.
hearing people and not thinking you're the be all know all.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I know I had the pastor I shadowed in college said, his advice for me going to seminary was, you're going to seminary to learn, not to prove how much you already know. Because there are some people that will do that. And once you get into a church, you're there to learn. You have the head knowledge, now you need to learn the congregation and how to apply it. I can't remember. Another former students' parents talked about, they had a new pastor at their church, and they described him as someone who'd read the parenting books but hadn't had a kid yet, and now is dealing with with how to apply things, and just kind of that recognition of it's the theory is one thing, practice and applying things well is another. But yeah. All right. Yeah, and so now we get specifically into the widows, not just older women in general, but widows and how to treat them and care for them. Could someone read this for us?
Honor widows who are truly widows. grandchildren, let them first learn to show godliness to their own household and to make some return to their parents, for this is pleasing in the sight of God. She who is truly a widow, left all alone, has set her hope on God and continues in supplications and prayers night and day. But she who is self-indulgent is dead even while she lives. Command these things as well, so that they may be without reproach. But if anyone does not provide for his relatives, and especially for members of his household, he has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever. Let a widow be enrolled if she is not less than 60 years of age, having been the wife of one husband, and having a reputation for good works. If she has brought up children, has shown hospitality, has washed the feet of the saints, has cared for the afflicted, and has devoted herself to every good work. But refuse to enroll the younger widows, for when their passions draw them away from Christ, they desire to marry, and so incur condemnation for having abandoned their former faith. Besides that, they learn to be idlers, going about from house to house, and not only idlers, but also gossips and busybodies, saying what they should not. So I would have younger widows marry, bear children, manage their households, and give the adversary no occasion for slander. For some have already strayed after Satan. If any believing woman has relatives who are widows, let her care for them. Let the church not be burdened, so that it may care for those who are truly widows.
All right. So which widows does Paul consider truly widows here?
They're basically alone, they have no relatives or anything,
Right.
anybody to take care of them.
Right. So the church is going to care for widows, but the true widows are the ones who are older and can't care for themselves and don't have any family who should be helping them out and taking care of them. All right. And so he seems to have some sort of list of enrollment for the widows who are going to be taken care of. Why does he insist that widows younger than 60 not be enrolled?
They should find another husband.
Find another husband, right. Yep.
Is
So,
that why they don't include widowers, because they are just expected to find another wife?
partly, yeah. And also partly they're, in theory, able to take care. Men are able to own property and things, and women aren't really in this case. So that's at least part of it too, that the men are supposed to be able to take care of themselves, and the widows are supposed to take care of, or are the ones who will often need being taken care of. But also this recognition that, okay, you take care of, the church is a family, and we will take care of the people in our family, but their families need to step up and take care of them if they can. So that we can help the people truly in need, not just everything, or not ones who could be helped by other people or in other ways. So, but yeah, and so yeah, he's worried about the younger widows. So if they're just living off inheritance or living off the church, then but they still have that energy and ability to serve, then that's when they run into issues where they start gossiping, being idle, being busybodies, and things that will distract them and lead them astray. So Paul thinks they should remarry if possible. So again,
I find it interesting.
yeah.
I'm assuming Paul's never married.
Yeah, I mean, that's the general assumption
I mean,
for him.
he's
Yes.
giving out this kind of advice.
Yeah. Yeah. So he's at least seen, even if he hasn't experienced it, he's at least seen from a distance of how this can happen, and so observing and watching and passing on advice that way. All right. Any other questions about this part?
You looking for the movie reference? I could.
Oh, sure. Why not? Yeah, I always have to, it's always the challenge of, I mean, I'm making movie references that I'm used to, but I have to keep remembering, oh, wait a minute, these movies were, came out before these college kids were born. And, and then, making the even older ones, and yeah. But again, that was our frame of reference. I mean, Pastor Mark will talk about all these, movies or baseball players from when he was growing up. But will work for some of you, and others just kind of pass over. Yep. All right. Let's keep going. 17 to 24. Could someone read this for us?
Let the elders who rule well be considered worthy of double honor, especially those who labor in preaching and teaching. For the scripture says, you shall not muzzle an ox when it treads out the grain, and the laborer deserves his wages. Do not admit a charge against an elder except on the evidence of 2 or 3 witnesses. And for those who persist in sin, rebuke them in the presence of all, so that the rest may stand in fear. In the presence of God and of Christ Jesus and of the elect angels, I charge you to keep these rules without prejudging, doing nothing from partiality. Do not be hasty in the laying on of hands, nor take part in the sins of others. Keep yourself pure. No longer drink only water, but use a little wine for the sake of your stomach and your frequent ailments. The sins of some people are conspicuous, going before them to judgment, but the sins of others appear later. So all good works are conspicuous, and even those that are not cannot remain hidden.
All right. So we talked about this before. What does Paul mean by elder here?
Well, it's not an age thing, is it? It's a
No, it's not partially an age thing, but not entirely an age thing. Yeah.
or responsibility position.
Yeah, it's someone who has a responsibility in the church. Again, we've kind of talked about this a couple chapters ago when we got through the overseers and deacons and elders, and they're distinct. Sometimes Paul uses them in distinct ways. Sometimes they get used interchangeably, and of course, the challenge is how Paul uses them and how the early church uses some of these terms and how we use them today. There's sometimes enough differences that it's a little quirky to do a direct one-to-one comparison. But yeah, still the general ideas of the people who are managing the affairs of the church should be worthy of double honor, especially those who labor in preaching and teaching. Yeah. All right. Why are faithful pastors worthy of double honor?
They say because they preach and teach.
Preach and teach. Yep. Yeah. So again, that has to do a lot of things in recognizing that. So Paul quotes this obscure verse. It says, "Shall not muzzle an ox when it treads out the grain." What does that mean?
Don't starve them when they're working for you.
Don't starve them when they're working for you, right? Yep. And so again, Paul Paul mentions this other places too, that he doesn't always feel he needs to be paid well, because he can always go off and make tents, which I think also kind of gives him some freedom of that. Well, okay, if you're not listening to me, then I'm just going to go make tents or move on somewhere else and deal with it. But he always encourages these churches that he's working with and to make sure that they're providing for their leaders, and that's both for the good of the leader and for the good of the people, kind of thing too. That it's obviously good for the leader, so that the leader can devote themselves to the work they're doing, and then also good for the congregation, because if they're not generous enough, they're not supporting people, then that's a heart problem for themselves, and causes other issues. So, does that make sense? Right? And so, like, we see this some with some of what Kebeta is doing is, and has done, is that with his work in Ethiopia, part of it so that to build a church building, the land also has to be providing something, and so he helps make sure that the land the churches are on has something that grows. And I'm trying. I know there's different fruit trees and things that he has that he's able to help them to work to grow better and things so that it works better. And also that then they have not only fully trained pastors, but they also have evangelists that go around that are also still farming. And if Kebeta can make sure they have better harvests, then A, that gets them respect in the community, and B, it means if they don't have to be doing other stuff to support them, if they're able to just support themselves on their farming, that gives them more free time to be evangelists going around and seeing things. So. All right, any other questions or thoughts or comments on that? All right, why does Paul tell Timothy not to even consider an accusation raised against a pastor or elder if there was only one accuser?
That's crap.
Okay.
I know.
Yeah, okay. No, that's, yeah. So, part of it is that the way it worked in Jewish culture was that an accusation had to be supported by two witnesses, just to make sure it wasn't a he said, she said situation. But of course that creates problems, especially because often in Jewish culture it was not only did they have to be two witnesses, it had to be two male witnesses. We look at that sometimes when we're talking about the accuracy and efficacy of the resurrection account, that if people were making this up, they wouldn't have three women who are unreliable witnesses be the ones who see Jesus and come back and tell the disciples. They would have had men do it because they would have been seen as reliable witnesses. So that kind of thing. But yeah, and that of course, yeah, comes up today in all sorts of things too. Although often, once there's at least one accuser, then others feel confident to come forward if there's been some sort of abuse or something going on. And then you get past that. More than one accusation, but yeah. So that's at least what Paul's going off of from here. Recognition that you don't want it to just become he said, she said, or he said sort of things. You need two witnesses, but also then recognize things will happen otherwise. So. And so when two or more witnesses bring charges against a pastor, what's he to do? And here we go. This is so he tells them they need to rebuke those who are so there's two witnesses and they're persisting in their sin, whatever it is. Rebuke them in the presence of all, so the rest may stand in fear. And I saw Gary chuckle a little at that point. But yeah, so a recognition that A, make sure everyone else is on their best behavior, and B, recognize that the church won't let whatever sort of abuse or whatever was going on stand.
They can't turn a blind eye to what's happening.
Can't turn a blind eye to what's happened, whatever it is, right? Because all too often the sins of a pastor can affect not just them, but the whole congregation and things. So. Fear could mean respect, I think, too, right? Yeah.
What version is that? The ESV?
I think it's ESV.
Oh,
Why, do you have an NIV that's slightly different?
I
Or?
thought I switched to the ESV and it says, I don't know, I lost it. May take warning that others may take,
Okay,
which sounds like real fear.
yeah,
In that respect.
may take warning, right.
Yeah.
You know, kind of like, you know, when you're on the highway and you see cop cars pulled someone else over, everyone else starts slowing down and following the speed limit a lot better. Yeah. All right, Paul's supposed to supervise without prejudging. Why is he supposed to do that?
Well, I think every pastor and every congregation is different, and so he needs to take all of those things into account. He
Right.
can't just say, well, you shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
Well, maybe there's a reason.
Right, yeah, both understanding the context and understanding who the people are and their different gifts, which may be different than Timothy's, and also may be in a different context than Timothy was in, and so recognizing that can change. All right, and then why is Timothy not supposed to be hasty in laying on of hands? And that's kind of the idea of appointing church leaders.
He needs to make sure they're ready for it.
Make sure they're ready for it, right? Yeah, I mean earlier on when we went through the qualifications of the pastor in chapter 3, talked about not being a new believer. So it's had some time for their faith to mature, some time so that they're not like make sure that their faith isn't like the seeds planted in the rocky soil or the thorns that springs up real quick and then dries up quick or things. But they've had time and proven their faithfulness that way. Again, and in chapter 3, again, the qualifications were more character qualifications than necessarily, learning or educational qualifications, and so having more time to observe and watch and make sure, so that you don't have to deal with some of these other issues. You may still have to. The pastors and church leaders are unfortunately all too human and will fall and fail, but again, making sure they go through things.
So is this all like also a class for you back in seminary, this whole thing?
That touched on some of these things.
Touched
Yeah.
on.
Yep. Yeah. Pastoral theology, pastoral leadership, some of those sorts of classes, and comes out in the application too of and I mean that's becoming a debate in Synod is how do we train pastors and how what's the best way to go about it, and the movement seems to be, well, our residential seminaries are a gold standard, so we need to keep that up, but there's a few different alternate routes, whether it's specific ministry pastoral program or the ethnic immigrant one, or some things like that provide a couple different pathways. But there's a move of recognizing how education in general is going more online. So can you do that, or that people who could be good pastors might want to be pastors also don't want to move to St. Louis or Fort Wayne for 4 years and pick up and then get assigned God knows where, away from everything that's familiar, instead of raising up leaders within the local church and having some online training. And so that's the kind of a debate that's happening a bit, and how you do that. But at least part of the argument for the residential route is that it is a long process, so that you prove these things. You've had time to prove these character things. You've had time to do those things.
I think that's good.
Yeah.
I'm not a big proponent of online training for some professions.
Yeah.
We're trying to do that and that too.
Oh, yeah.
So that I like.
Yeah. Yeah, I think ideally most of the online ones, it's usually some sort of mentoring in the local church practical component. You're not just sitting on your computer and then saying, oh, I'm going to go pastor a church because I sat through and watched, you know, intro to Greek or something, which, I mean, they have, and, you know, I mean, it is a lot easier. I mean, I'm old enough that when I was looking at seminary, you could ask in order to study for Greek or Hebrew especially, they would mail you the box of VHS tapes from classes that would. So, I mean, while I was at seminary, that's when iTunes U started allowing more video things, and they started doing things more that way, so you didn't have to mail a box of VHS tapes if you want to watch a Greek class and learn that way. And now, of course, there's even more possibilities and connections and ways to learn how to do things. But yeah, don't be hasty because again, you want to make sure you've had time to check through these character and other ideas, other aspects too. All right. So Paul's counseling Timothy to drink a little wine and not just water. Yeah, Connie.
For one thing, the water was really contaminated.
Right. Yeah. I mean, so that's at least always part of what's going on, right? That you know, we're spoiled generally having nice clean water. I mean, especially, you know, the Ames water. You know, you can watch the YouTube video about it, or then sing the song about it, or you know, the Ames water wins awards. You know, but there's other places where it's, you know, not always as clean. And in Europe and Middle Eastern areas, it was always still, not always clean. So it was often cut with some sort of alcohol, wine in the Mediterranean, more beer in German areas, just enough alcohol to mix with it to kill some of whatever little critters were floating around in the water. So we also get that Paul knows Timothy well enough to know that he's got stomach issues, and that this might be helpful for it. And also, you know, kind of a reminder too of, you know, that there are some Christian groups will, you know, swear off alcohol totally, and a recognition that it can be useful, but again, not, you know, everything in moderation.
He's able to fit in with the society a little more.
Right. Yeah. That wasn't. I mean, as Christians, they're going to be weird, different outside of the culture in some ways, but that wasn't one of them. Right. All right, and why does Paul point out that sins of some are obvious, but others are hidden? I mean, probably because they are.
Probably because they are.
And kind of to that recognition, that things will come to light eventually, both good and bad. Trying to cover up, trying to hide them, generally doesn't work. And so those things will come out, and so just kind of keep your eye out, make sure you're doing that, because when bad things come out, that can damage the church. When good things come out, that can sometimes help the church. But keep your eyes open that way. All right, and I think we're probably. I think we'll wrap up here, and we'll start chapter 6 next week. But thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
And we'll see you then.